Welcome, Sam. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm introduction. I've been told that when my time is up, a red light will be flashing, but I'm not sure where the red light will be. So I'll just carry on. Well, thank you. It's a great honor to be here. As Greg said, right at the start, my background before politics was banking and also as a startup investor for a while. And I remember going through Wired and opening it and reading it for the sort of tantalizing technologies that were going to redefine the future. And then occasionally, and then turn into sites like TechCrunch to figure out, that half idea I had, whether someone in Silicon Valley had already started it and was developing it. But the reason why that is important today is as the Minister for Science, Research, Innovation, and also for universities, I think the optimistic vision of how tech can change the world for the better has stayed with me from my past, but I also believe it's very much at the heart of the future of what we want to do politically. No one who works in tech can have failed to notice a disconnect, what I'll call a disconnect between two different worlds. On the one hand, you get the political news full of vexed and worrying questions about what we will do about the rise of populism. How are we going to make sure that economic growth is spread more widely in our country so that the left behind also benefit, not just those who are in London and the Southeast? How will we manage Brexit? Who's up, who's down in Parliament? And also sometimes the White House. That's what you read in most of the political commentary. But on the other hand, when we turn to the science and technology papers, we see stories of inspiring and even dizzying progress. I see this on a daily basis in my job as a minister. Yesterday, I was at IBM's research facility in Hersley Park, where they're using AI to do everything from predicting football transfers, yes, that surprised me, to running the International Space Station. Or consider the 100,000 Genomes Project, which is developing a new genomic medicine service for the NHS. And later this week, I'll be at Culham in Oxfordshire at the world's leading nuclear fusion lab, where they are inventing technologies that could power our future. So the world is changing, and it seems faster than ever, and usually for the better. So I can't help thinking that this is an opportunity that more of us politicians need to wake up to. Politicians and pundits spend much of their time nowadays debating the process of withdrawal from the EU and the pros and cons of the various deals. Now, all of that is important, but the changes I believe that new technologies will cause in the world may end up being on an order of magnitude far more important. And this means that there are vital questions that scarcely get talked about in politics. How should the UK make its way in the world in the years to come? And how can we position ourselves to take advantage of these momentous changes and opportunities that technology offers? Some people say we don't have the bandwidth to deal with that question right now. Brexit is, after all, as one pundit put it, the most complex task that Britain has faced for decades. But as any startup founder will tell you, being in the thick of it is no excuse for not asking the hard questions about your strategy. And it's my conviction that for the UK to thrive, we need new sources of economic growth, prosperity, and jobs, and a vision of how to succeed. We need to set a new direction that will sustain us not just for the next 9 months, but for the next 30 years. And I genuinely believe that only technology and innovation can provide that. I believe that the spirit of optimism and can-do that we're all here today to discuss is what will make us prosper as a nation. And that's why I think it is essential that we put innovation at the heart of our industrial strategy. The businesses of the future, as you know, will be based on science, research, and technology. Research shows us that high-growth businesses are the main engine of job creation in the economy. So if we want to succeed, we need to help them to thrive. New statistics published earlier this year by TechNation show that the UK is maintaining its lead as Europe's tech hub. We play host to 13 of Europe's 34 unicorns. More venture capital is invested here than in Germany, France, and Sweden combined. And 7 of Europe's top 10 unicorn hunting VC funds are based here. We are the #1 destination in Europe for tech talent. But when I speak to most of my friends who are in the tech world, they all tell me about Emmanuel Macron and his bold, ambitious offer he is making to the world of tech. Now, France may just be playing catch-up for now, but I think that means that for us in the UK, it is time to double down on our strengths in science, technology, and innovation to stay ahead of the pack. This is partly a matter of investment. A decade ago, the idea that government investment had a role to play in fostering innovation was contentious, even controversial. But when we look around the world at countries like the US, Germany, Israel, Singapore, we see that focused public investment is a necessary condition for a thriving innovation economy. So I'm proud that the government has delivered the biggest increase in public funding in R&D for 4 decades, backing the ingenuity of our scientists, researchers, and innovators. And if we have even bigger ambitions, as part of our industrial strategy, we're aiming to increase the amount of research and development done in the UK by 50% over the next decade. But as any founder knows, getting funding does not equal success. It is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient one. We also need to make sure that the UK is a place where innovative businesses can thrive. And if you look at countries that have dramatically grown their tech sectors, places like Israel and Ireland, they tend to have a few things in common. They've embraced a clear vision of the future, taking a global outlook, and make themselves, if you like, a platform for innovation. In many ways, it is what made London successful with financial services. We became the place to go if you want to trade or be involved in financial services by virtue of our regulatory system, by virtue of our laws, by virtue of the fact that we are open. Countries that do this for tech are good at working with others. They welcome talent, and they help to support a thriving tech ecosystem, including startups, growth businesses, and corporate giants. So to do this, we need to make the best of Britain's historical talents. One of these is our institutions. From our deep and innovative capital markets to our world-renowned universities. Take the work that the London Stock Exchange is doing, that is the elite program to help high-tech growth businesses like Grays and M-Squared Lasers across the finance they need to grow. Let's not forget in this context the role that Britain's blue-chip companies can play. We know that when big businesses and startups collaborate smartly, it creates big opportunities and routes to growth. So I'm thrilled to see that today's conference is bringing together big companies and startups, incumbents and insurgents, to identify ways that they can collaborate and innovate together. These are big advantages for UK tech. The second advantage we have is our tradition of openness and diversity. We are already reaching out to the wider world. Our India Tech Hub partnership brings together businesses, universities, and tech institutions and has developed a new UK-India Tech Hub in Delhi. The UK-Israel Tech Hub is driving R&D partnerships between British business and Israeli tech leaders. We are working hard to secure a strong partnership with the EU on science and innovation after Brexit. Our Global Challenges Research Fund has built strong relationships with partners in many of the world's fastest growing economies, focused on global issues like water, clean energy, and agri-tech. And we've announced major schemes to help bring the brightest and best researchers and innovators to work in the UK, ranging from Rutherford's fellowships the Future Leadership Fellowships, and the Startup Visa Program, which will begin in spring. If we want to succeed, we need to keep Britain an open and globally minded place. The third strength we need to leverage is Britain's entrepreneurship and can-do spirit. Napoleon more rudely called us a nation of shopkeepers. He meant it as an insult, but it shows that business is in our blood and entrepreneurship too. And you can see it when you look at the likes of an entrepreneur first. I would end by saying a number of people have said that the way for us to succeed in future is to relaunch the Royal Yacht Britannia as a way of establishing Britain's international credentials. I appreciate the ambition for this project and the desire to embrace a global economic role. In its day, the Royal Yacht symbolized our shipbuilding prowess and our mercantile tradition. But in 2018, a yacht is not going to cut it. We can't rely on 19th century technology to sell the promise of 21st century Britain. I believe that the promise of 21st century Britain resides very much in the discussions and the debates that you'll be having here today. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks a lot. Great.